Let's go. Welcome back again this week as we take a look at the history of the Montreal Expo and Oakland Athletic, former organizations, thoughts on both franchises from Mike and I, as well as our Santa wish list to the world of baseball. But before that, as we always do, we begin each show by asking you the question, where else would you rather be than right here? Boom! Right now. You are looking live at the Split Studios. This is Fantasy Baseball Now, episode 18, as part of our show, part of the Ball9.com podcast network with a combined 70 years of fantasy baseball experience. Mike and I are here to talk some fantasy baseball, well, Major League Baseball with a fantasy baseball spin. Quick programming note, we had mentioned last week that former MLB player manager Clint Hurdle was going to be on this week. We had to postpone that appearance to another time, hopefully soon after the holidays. Mike, the reverberations have kind of settled down. We're about 9 days removed from Juan Soto signing with the Mets, a move that for Mets fans, non-Yankee fans, and myself at least, a feeling that gives new definition to the term happy ending.
Really? The holiday season? First of all, you should have said, hey, ho, 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 let's go. Since
I should have.
Christmas, not the holidays.
We start over?
Nope. And
okay.
We'll get to that. I'll comment on that in my Christmas wish list. But, while Met fans are still, reverberating in the joy and got their Mr. Bubble in the bubble bath, all, happy, making, getting their hair propped up like Home Alone. The Yankees are just out getting Devin Williams and Max Fried and bringing Clay's son Cody home. I mean, like get your one signing. Hope you win games 15-13. That's all. Enjoy it. Merry Christmas and go fuck yourself. One of my favorite expressions that I like to use.
All righty. Well, on that note,
just as a quick breaking news, Major League Baseball, before we get into what we're getting into, Nolan Arenado used his no trade clause to block a trade to the Astros today.
Yeah.
So, as we talked about last week, when we talk about how do you rank players, how do you make trades when all the puzzle pieces haven't fallen into place? So the Astros clearly just tipped their hand that they're not willing to meet the salary demands of Alex Bregman. So now he's fully in play and not going back.
Yep.
Arenado has clearly been open to a trade, but he is going to be very selective in where he allows that to happen.
Yeah, it's called Southern California, where he's from.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
Pretty much.
Maybe.
I heard the Astros refused to throw in garbage cans to him. They were going to make him bring his own.
He doesn't look like he's not a garbage can guy to me. He's more of a waste bin. He's a Southern California guy. He recycles. He doesn't use garbage cans.
I don't even know what that is. All right, this week, this was your idea, so you can intro.
I know. I love this idea.
Yeah.
I love it. This is one of my favorite ideas of all time. So it occurred to me when as you were talking about your youth in Oakland.
It's not it's not the way without a couple of bats in my hand, but go ahead.
No, it's not. Or Verdor's 50s. No, it's not at all.
From Jacques, the beer vendor.
Right. After we paid 75 cents for bleacher seats in Olympic Stadium and ended up sitting 3 rows behind first base because that's the way it went. So as you were talking about the shit show that is the now A's, we won't even give them a city in that cow pasture ballpark they're going to play in. And your youth another franchise another city that got screwed out of a baseball team. I thought about my youth and trips to Jerry Park and our trips together to Olympic Stadium to watch Les Expo, and just like sent you a note one night. It's like we need to do an all-time A's and Expos edition. So here we go. Like it's I will tell you, I'm not sure which one of these was harder, to be honest with you, because it's sad in a way to dig through the unbelievable names that these teams have dumped over their times. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like when I rattle off the Expos pitching staff, it's like, what the hell? Like,
yeah,
they would have won a World Series or they certainly would have had a legitimate chance to win a World Series had there not been a strike and been no World Series. They were the best team in baseball for sure. Yep. And that stretch when Felipe Alou was their manager, they were very, very good. But I go back to Gene Mauch and Bill Stoneham on the bump and John Buckabella behind the plate and,
Coco Rivera.
Coco LeBoy, Bombo Rivera, Ron Hunt getting hit by every other pitch. I started, that was the closest place for me to go to baseball games. Unbelievable memories there. It was like going to a minor league park.
Yeah.
So getting autographs as a kid were like super easy. That's why I hate Dick Allen. We referenced that last week. But I saw Willie Stargell drop 2 in the pool and Jerry Park in right field in a doubleheader. So it's just like unbelievable, those early baseball memories. And then the Olympics happen in 80, right? No, 76 Olympics happened in Montreal. The Expos go into that stadium. My cousin lives in Plattsburgh and starts bringing me to games at Olympic Stadium when I was 14, 15 years old. So 13, 14 years old. Got to see Claude Osteen toe the bump for the Dodgers, my first game in Olympic Stadium. On good Dodger teams and bad Expos were really bad then. So it was a little bit of a trip down memory lane. It's sad. It's sad that there's not a team there. It's sad that Major League Baseball doesn't value tradition. It's sad that they didn't support the team and forced MLB's hand to some extent. But I think I think both Oakland and Montreal are viable candidates. The Expos have a stadium plan approved. The A's need to approve a stadium plan to get legs to have a team back in Oakland, but
they had it approved. Well, I'll save that for later.
They need to have it on their own with an ownership group that's willing to acquiesce to that, or Major League Baseball who's willing to foot the bill to put a team there. We'll discuss that later as well.
Oh, we will.
In my wish list.
All right.
Without further ado,
let me give you just a couple quick memories of Olympic Stadium for me. Number one, the took a bus trip once from Plattsburgh, which just no car keys needed, to a Mets Expos doubleheader, which you can imagine when you're trying to go the 9 for 9, 9 beers, 9 innings times 2.
They encouraged that.
That got a little messy. Then opening day of 1988, I'm in the outfield with Battlefield Bob, and Darryl Strawberry hits one off of the lining of the roof.
Yeah.
Just a moonshot. And then one time I got on TV and I would have caught a Glenn Davis home run ball one summer I was up there. Ball's coming out to left field. We were there. Jim Deshaies, Messina's Jim Deshaies was
two silhouettes on Deshaies
was on the hill, and Squirrely was like, "We got to go see him. I know this guy." And Glenn Davis hits a ball, and you could see me on the news. Only I'm not lunging for the ball. You see my back waving up to the top of the stairs to my buddy, saying, "Get me 2 more beers." And I turn around, and the ball landed 2 rows in front of me. And I'll tell you, in the condition I was in, I would have dove to catch that ball.
Yeah, probably. Good seats always available in Montreal. Epic trips to see the Mets with all of the Met fans that went to Plattsburgh. That was always fun. I mean, we saw David Cohn spin a 3-hit masterpiece there. When I had a 9-inning conversation about bass fishing with Kevin McReynolds in left field for a full game.
I remember that Cohn game.
Quite a bit of fun. We went out to the bullpen to heckle Lee Smith and decided after seeing him we would not do that. We both got scared.
I let somebody have that. I remember we're warming up, and I said, "I'll be right back. I want to go discuss tonight's game with the starting pitcher." I can't remember who it was, but it was colorful, if nothing else. I call that
Carlos Zambrano. He would have come in the stands.
I call that a home field advantage for whatever team I'm rooting for. That
exactly. And you know what? They're just happy to have us there. They didn't care what we did.
Absolutely. Beer vendors loved us. Good tipper. Those Americans.
We tore a ticket stub. Now just go do what you're going to do. Like don't run on the field. Don't rip Yuppie's head off. And then other than that, just go enjoy yourself.
Keep your clothes on. Keep
most of your clothes on.
All right, you ready?
I am ready.
All-time Expo lineup. Go.
So I don't know why I put catcher last. So at first base, the big cat, El Gato Grande, Andres Galarraga.
I got to fix the typo on Galarraga.
Who had better years in Colorado with a bump from Colorado, but made his name as an Expo's first baseman. He was phenomenal in Montreal. At second base, Delino DeShields, who was Mr. Excitement. No disrespect to Jose Vidro, who was a great second baseman, or Ron Hunt, for that matter, who was also a great Expo second baseman. No disrespect to either of those, but DeShields fueled that team when he was on it. Shortstop, they don't have a great history. I mean, Tim Foley,
baby,
but Orlando Cabrera offensively, and if we're talking about it from a fantasy perspective, Orlando Cabrera is clearly the most dominant offensive player they've ever had. Third base, the man that made me want to add total bases as a stat category in our league, Mr. Doubles, Tim Wallach.
The Tim Wallach rule.
We tried to get the Tim Wallach rule to pass. It did not pass, unfortunately, but also not a position of great strength over a lifetime of teams in Montreal. Outfield is not easy. Outfield is really, really difficult.
Yes, it is.
Really difficult. So Tim Raines is a no-brainer. He's probably the second best leadoff hitter. I mean, maybe Ichiro is, but he's arguably the second best leadoff hitter in the history of the game. Larry Walker, Mr. Five Tool. I mean, we start talking about right fielders in Montreal. Holy smokes. Larry Walker, and then Vladdy Daddy, who burst onto the scene. His first at-bat was a home run. And then the Hawk, Andre Dawson, which forced me to leave off Rusty Staub,
Le Grand Orange,
Ellis Valentine, Warren Cromartie, Rondell White, and the infamous Pepe Menguel. So, I mean, they've had phenomenal outfielders through the history of that team. Phenomenal outfielders. And then, of course, that catcher, as much as I love to say the name John Bacabella, I mean, Gary Carter, clearly probably a top 10 catcher in the history of the game.
Yeah.
Maybe at the bottom of the top 10. But clearly the face of the Expos when they were good, brought the excitement, beloved in Montreal, without a doubt. Very easy pick we look at this all from a fantasy standpoint, they all make perfect sense. When we start talking about pitchers, and we're not talking about the guys that pitched there for a while, Daryl Knowles, Bill Stoneman, like Steve Rogers probably had the longest tenure of anybody on this list. But they had in their rotation at one point in time, Randy Johnson, El Presidente Dennis Martinez, Pedro Martinez, Javi Vasquez, who was spectacular before the Yankees traded for him, and Jeff Reardon as their closer. Jeff Reardon's best years were in Montreal. He was completely dominant in Montreal as a closer. He was dominant.
I'm drawing a blank. Who served up the Rick Monday homer in the 81 playoffs to keep them out of the World Series? Do you remember that?
I think it was Steve Rogers. He pitched deep into that game.
I may look that up real quick while you're
He pitched deep into that game. I mean, they had some bad pitchers too. I mean, they had some terrible pitchers, but Ron Darling had a stint there at the very end of his career.
Steve Rogers.
Yeah. Steve Rogers is probably the greatest pitcher in Expo history, only because of his for the amount of time that he pitched there.
Yeah,
they were in that fire sale mode, right? Where they trade Pedro, they trade Dennis, they trade Randy Johnson, they trade Carlos Baerga, who was before he even got up. He went to Cleveland and he was an instant superstar. I mean, they traded so many great players because that's why it makes sense that Tampa should go there, because they ran their organization exactly like Tampa did.
Can baseball work up there? Can they learn from their mistakes? Do you think?
I think in a 34,000, 35,000 seat stadium where they're going to draw 18 to 26 a night.
Yeah.
I think it can work. In a 76,000 seat stadium, no way.
No, it looked like never going to work there.
Even in their heyday. Yeah. Even in their heyday, they couldn't fill. They couldn't fill it. I mean, I think that the city has come around. I think they miss baseball.
Yeah.
I know they're very active on social media, certainly, and I'm following an incredible number of former Expos or Expo lifer fans. Dave Gallagher's a great follower on X because he's Mr. Happy Birthday to all the former Expos, and it just brings back brings back memories of opening up a 1972 Topps wax pack and seeing some random Bob Bailey at first base who had a good career in Montreal.
Yep. Yeah, honestly,
Bob Bailey's probably the second best first baseman in franchise history after Galarraga.
I think Larry Walker's numbers in Montreal is what got him over the Colorado stigma and into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I didn't look. I should have looked. I didn't look at the number of years he played in both. He's probably closest to all of these guys for equal number of years in Montreal versus where he otherwise went. Maybe Andre Dawson. Andre Dawson's numbers in Montreal were fantastic, and they weren't a lot different in Chicago.
Yeah,
they were not a lot. They were not a lot different in Chicago. So, yeah, but just think about just from a defensive standpoint, Walker and Dawson and Vladdy, the arms in right field, and Ellis Valentine for that matter.
Oh,
the cannon arms that patrolled right field in Olympic Stadium. I mean, cannon arms, some of the greatest arms in baseball history. Well, you know what? He only had
6.
He had 5 full seasons. 6 full seasons in Montreal.
Yeah, I would have thought more.
I mean, his offensive numbers improved.
They did
considerably in Colorado, but he was the best player. He was the best player on those Expo teams at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, Dawson, on the other hand, is almost 50-50. Dawson had his first full season was 77. So he was 77 to 86 in Montreal. So he had 9 seasons in Montreal and then 10 additional seasons in his career. And you count that the 2 in Florida and the 2 in Boston one of the 2 in Boston don't really count. So he's probably of Hall of Fame superstars. He's probably closest to a split career where he really made his name. Where he really made his name in Montreal. His power numbers increased when he went to Chicago a little bit, but not significantly. He did have 438 home runs.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's not too bad. That's not too bad. Yeah, the Expos. If we were in an all-time draft, if we were in a 1980 to present draft, the Expos would certainly have many players on rosters in a 12-team league. Many.
Sure. How many people do you think growing up thought that logo on your hat said ELB?
Oh, many.
Me.
Many.
You don't realize it's an M. It's an M.
No, you don't realize it's an M. I mean, it's interesting. They at Jerry Park, they had like a poster of the logo with an explanation of it in French, of course. So
of course,
that wasn't very helpful, but it, yeah, the E is the E for Expos. But it's sad not to have Montreal in baseball. It really is.
Sure.
Only because of we had so many memories going to games there.
Oh yeah, I had a blast.
Oh yeah, I guess. I think so. I believe
some of the best games are the ones I really don't remember.
I believe so.
The next day.
I think the Expos are also responsible for Battlefield Bob's marriage.
They might be. Did they meet on a trip up there? Or that was like a first date, pure romance.
I think it was like a first date bus trip to Mets and Expos, and that was it.
Okay, we'll see.
Love it first foul tip.
Let's see if he's watching. All right, you ready for the Oakland Athletics?
I am. I can't wait for this.
This was it. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Mickey Cochran and guys. This is the Oakland days, 68-24, not Philadelphia or Kansas City. It's the Oakland days for me. That's what this is. I have a hard time quantifying some guy in 1932 versus now. It's just beyond my scope of deep thought, of which there's very little in my head. All right, the lineup. Catcher, going with Terry Steinbach. 4,500 plate appearances plus, 132 homers is a franchise record for a catcher. Very steady. Go with Steinbach there. First base was tough. Just growing up in the Bay Area in the 70s, I'm partial to those 3 World Series teams. Take McGuire over Gene Tennis, but Gene Tennis was such a big part, especially in 72 with his 4 homers in that series against the Reds. The interesting hole was second base. I wanted to go Dick Green. Yeah, it's a fantasy show, and he couldn't hit it all, but what a great glove. I almost went with Tony Phillips, who was kind of the jack of all trades there. Phil Garner was my favorite growing up living there, but he only played there 2 seasons before he was traded for Chuck Tanner and Manny Sanguillen. So I went with Mark Ellis. Mostly he was reliable and dependable for his time in the Bay. Shortstop, one of my favorite all-time players, Dagberto Campaneris. Yeah, he threw a bat at Laren LeGros, but he had that coming when he beamed him right in the leg. But Campy Campaneris was all things for the Oakland A's in those early 70s. And watching him play and just feisty, a big home run in Game 7 of the 73 World Series off of John Matlack. They show Reggie Jackson's homer in that game more, but Campaneris got that started with a homer in that big inning. Third base, I actually almost went with Josh Donaldson. Then I thought maybe Matt Chapman. Donaldson was great in his time for Oakland. He was great. He wasn't really the D-bag that he kind of turned out to be. But I went with the captain, Salvatore Bando. He was the captain, the glue of those teams. in the 70s. Again, I'm partial to my youth, I guess, but Sal Bando was just fantastic. Outfield, yeah, Ricky. I must just say, just Ricky, greatest leadoff hitter in the history of the game. Stolen bases, a ton of power. Yeah, that's an automatic. The other one is Reggie Jackson, who the interesting side note with Reggie, when he came back as a member of the Orioles in 75, I was at his game and I was booing him when he came up because that's what you do. You root for the name on the front of the jersey. I got the death stare from my mother. How can you be screaming? I'm like, he's an Oriole now. I'm like, but Red Giroux, yeah, he was everything. He AL MVP in 73. Just great. And the outfield spot, at first I had Jose Canseco in there. I'm like, no, this list has to have Joe Rudi. The catch against the Reds in the 72 series in Game 7 against the Wall. The home run to win Game 5, to clinch Game 5, the seventh inning in the 74 clincher against the Dodgers and Mike Marshall after some of the A's fans threw some smoke bombs and flares onto the field. Marshall declined. I've watched the YouTube clip of Kurt Gowdy numerous times. He took no warm-up pitches, and Rudi gave a souvenir on the first pitch of that at bat. Joe Rudi, and he's a great guy. I met him a couple times at autograph sessions. He's got to be on the list. Him going on pushed Canseco to the DH spot, knocked Jeremy Giambi into the pinch hitter role, but that's the way it goes. You got to draw the line somewhere. So that's the lineup for the A's. Now the pitching was tough. The pitching was tough because I put one of my personal favorites as my fifth starter, right? But my all-time favorite player in baseball is Catfish Hunter. Automatic in the postseason, Hall of Famer. Dave Stewart, just everything about Oakland. I wish his ownership group had bought that team a few years ago, but Stu belongs on it. He remains pretty active in the Bay. And then I'm taking the other two from that 70s run. Kenny Holtzman, best hitting pitcher I ever saw. Big game after big game in the postseason for them. Vida Blue, unbelievable in 71. You know what? As strangely as it sounds, he was not the best postseason guy you ever saw, or either that, he was just a tough luck loser. But Vida Blue is just fantastic, great personality. And the fifth guy, I chose Tim Hudson. I wanted to get one of those guys from the Hudson Mulder Zito era on there. Hudson was the best of the three before they shipped him off to Atlanta for nothing. Started just a really crappy 2 decades of ownership. The closer before we went on the air it was the debate. Raleigh Fingers gets it over Dennis Eckersley. Fingers was the original great fireman, one of the first to go in the Hall as a reliever. And as I said to you, he never gave up a home run to Kirk Gibson in a World Series, so he gets it. And then I added a setup guy just because I've become so enamored with Mason Miller. He gets a little bit of recognition here for the A's last teams.
That's where Daryl Knowles should have been.
Daryl Knowles, I don't know if anyone's done it since, but he was the first, and he might be the only pitcher to ever pitch in all 7 games of a World Series. And Paul Lindblad, that whole team.
That whole team,
you could put him on there in some capacity. Raymond Fosse.
So it's hard to argue with Sal Bando. I'm surprised it wasn't Eric Chavez.
You know what? Xavi was part of that team that fell short in the playoffs every year. Even Miguel Tejada, same thing. That I love that team, but they didn't get it done when they had to. Yeah, but Bando being the captain of 3 straight World Series teams gets it over Chavez.
The pitching's definitely tough.
Yeah. Bob Welch could go on there.
Pitching's definitely tough. Zito, Mulder, McCaddy. I mean, you got some phenomenal pitchers, starters for the A's that you could have went with a 12-man rotation very easily, and it's kind of hard to argue with.
Oh, the World Series. I mean, Welch was teamed up with Dave Stewart. He was unhittable for them. Again, didn't do it long enough. Not that Hudson was there forever, but during his time, he was very dependable. But there's others. I mean, Mike Norris and that whole group in the 80 team that God love Billy Martin. You could throw 400 innings. Just do it.
Yeah, just go throw 400 innings.
Just do it.
Don't worry about it.
Not a big deal.
We're not worried about next year. We're worried about this year.
Exactly.
You got paid for this year.
That's the A's. Now, look, before I want to touch right back on the hot stove again, real quick. Bellinger's a Yankee. Give me some thoughts on that. And Devin Williams and Max Fried.
I'm waiting for Jason Stark to let me know if there's ever been a Cody for Cody trade in baseball.
There is not. I read that. Sarah Lang had that on Twitter last night. First time there's ever been a Cody for Cody deal.
If he's healthy, it's a huge trade. What they gave up for him was next to nothing. I mean, Cody Cody's fine, but I would have thought that it would have taken more to get him. He can play center if they don't sign a first baseman and they pivot and go back to an outfielder. He can play first base. So I like the fit. I like the swing at Yankee Stadium for sure. I like the fact that his dad played there and his dad spent 10 years in the minors before he got called up. Still one of the greatest videos I've ever seen is when they told him he made the club and he sat at his locker crying. Clay sat at his locker crying after 6 years in AAA, getting called up to the big club. And then he stuck, and he was a good player for the Yankees. He was valuable. So I'm sure he cried again yesterday when Clay was traded to the Yankees. I'm sure he's pretty excited about that. I think it's another piece. I think it's a good get. It's starting to feel exactly. It's starting to feel exactly like what the tea leaves keep saying is that if you give Soto, that immense talent, all that money, are you a better team than if you give four guys that money and fill your holes with that cash, given where they were from a payroll standpoint versus where the Mets were from a payroll standpoint?
Do you worry about Bellinger? He's got 8 years in, and he's had two great years in LA.
Yeah.
The last one was in 2019. He had the 1 year with the Cubs 2 years ago.
He was hurt last year. He was hurt
he's
last
had
year.
some injuries.
Again, I worry about health with him. I really do. I mean, and then I worry about consistency. So there's no doubt about it. But for what it cost him, I think it's a good move.
And you get $5 million. So Hal's standing on the street corner with a cup in his hand is actually paying off because the Cubs are helping out.
Yeah, 2.5 this year, 2.5 next year.
Yeah.
So, Hal, the richest franchise in Major League Baseball.
Got to take on money.
I did a deep dive when I was getting ready for my wish list into the Forbes team valuation list. And the Yankees are the most valuable franchise in baseball. And they were purchased for $70 million.
It's pretty good. Pretty
Yeah,
good ROI.
Not bad at all. Not bad one bit. I mean, they've clearly turned it into it is the evil empire. I think it's a good move. I mean, it's still very quiet. I'm surprised there hasn't been more. I'm really surprised there hasn't been more moves. I'm really surprised.
Yeah, it's disappointing a little bit just because I enjoy that.
Yeah, and there probably won't be much of anything until New Year.
Yeah, it'll go quiet for Christmas, I think.
It'll go. I thought the trades might have propped up might have like sped up right after the winter meetings. But I think there was so much shock at the Soto contract that I think all the owners and GMs went, wow. holy cats. And then the Yankees signed Fried for that deal and they went, jeepers, here we go. It's going to be an expensive off season if we want to start to bring some of these guys in. They got the money.
Hey, you know what I want to do? I want to tag John Heyman when we post or repost this since it's live, because I want him on the show after his little tirade against WFAN when they.
Oh, against our guy Keith McPherson? Come on.
Yeah. I would love to interview John Heyman.
He'd leave us too because I'd go right.
The Boris Shill.
I would go right. I'd start with that. He would be on for 30 seconds. It'd be great.
Absolutely.
It'd be great. It'd be great. I mean, first of all, yeah, he is a Boris Shill, and second of all, the number of things that you get wrong, that he gets wrong, that are non Scott Boris related, compared to what he gets directly from Boris. If Jeff Passan doesn't say it, if Buster Olney doesn't say it, if Ken Rosenthal doesn't say it, I don't believe it.
Yeah,
frankly. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't come from those three guys, I'm like, show me the. And hey, to the person on Twitter who created an account, Jeff Passan with an O, delete your friggin' account. Please, just delete your account. He's clearly not a Met fan or not a Yankee fan, because he just kept sending stuff out all week to try to get Yankee fans fired up. And they did. They don't read. They don't read the name. They just read that it says Jeff P. And they're like, oh, Passan just reported that the Yankees made a trade for, Babe Ruth and Ernie Banks.
Yep.
It was for cash considerations. It's like, what the hell? Just delete your account. Stop. You're making people crazy.
All right. You ready? You ready for Santa Mike?
I am ready for Santa Mike. This is going to be fun.
In the house.
This is going to be a lot of fun.
What would you give to people in and around Major League Baseball, the baseball world, this year for Christmas?
I would give the people of Pinellas County, Florida, a pill of sanity.
1.3 B with a B billion.
So what I would say is, sometimes when you get a Christmas gift, it looks better in the Sears wish list catalog than it actually is when it gets to your house, right? We all had electric football. It looked like the coolest thing ever, and then you crank that thing up, and it was complete and utter chaos. I spent more time repainting those players to be my favorite teams than I did playing the game with any level of success.
It'd take you 20 minutes to line them up for the next play.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then they brought the passing quarterback in, where you could like flick the arm.
Yeah.
And if you hit your receiver, it was a pass. And it was still the funnest game of all time.
I tried to go up tempo and high octane, no huddle in that game, and it just didn't work because you kept having to reset.
It was high octane, all right, especially if you played near water.
Your frustration level.
But the trap that you can't fall for is and I respect the statement that came out when they voted to approve this, is basically to the Rays, now let's see what you got.
Ooh.
Because all the cost overruns and all the increases in construction fall in the Rays' lap. And the Rays' immediate response was, well, it's a good starting point. We're going to have to negotiate on this. Don't negotiate with them. Don't. Their owner's worth $800 million. The franchise worth $1.2 billion. You need more capital? Bring some minority owners in that have some cash. I mean, the taxpayers can't allow for another penny of this project that's specific to the Rays to be approved. The rest of the stuff, the art district, the hospital, the school, totally different conversation. Totally different conversation. That's quality of life. That's increasing your tax value. They've already shown their hand. They weren't willing to pay the difference they weren't willing to pay the deductible to get the roof fixed expeditiously. Yeah. The Yanks cut them a half-ass deal. They still don't have any players. They're not investing in any players. They traded their best pitcher to the A's of all teams a week ago.
Off-injured best pitcher, but
off-injured, but when healthy, their best pitcher. They have a track record of trading arbitration-eligible players for future, basically freebies. Don't fall for the trap. For the Pirates, just a new owner. Billboards are up in Pittsburgh right now. Sell the team billboards are up in Pittsburgh. a person put them up, one guy.
Yeah.
There's 5 up right now. There's going to be 10 to sell the team. I mean, just an owner who cares. Like just an owner who cares.
Beautiful.
White Sox fans, same thing. I mean, Jerry Reinsdorf, stop it. Stop. Just stop. Stop pretending that you care about the city of Chicago when all you're trying to do is hold them hostage for a new stadium and basically gutting a team. I mean, the White Sox history is long and somewhat vaunted, and he has totally turned that team into a laughingstock. Their over-under for 2025 is 49.5.
Wow.
49.5. And I honestly, I don't think it's under. I think 50 wins would be a miracle there. For Oriole fans, I hope you have an owner that's not like the old owner, because you know what I've seen so far? He's the old owner.
Nada.
He's the old owner. What's he done? Don't blame Mike Elias for this. It's not his fault. Signed a 35-year-old journeyman reliefish closer-ish guy from Japan for a nickel, and that's your move? Tyler O'Neill, congratulations on that. That's your move. You got your 2 best pitchers are coming back from injury. You needed pitching at the end at the trade deadline. You didn't go get it. The owner told everybody this was not going to be like the old regime, and all it's been to this point has been the old regime.
Correct.
That's all it's been. And for Met fans, this is a special wish for you. I wish that you could come to grips with the fact that Yankee fans don't give 2 flying fucks about what you say. We don't care. You're not our rival. The Red Sox are our rival. You think that you're going to trash the Yankees? And you think that Yankee fans care what you think? We don't. You got Sammy Sosa. Congratulations. Enjoy him. He's still my favorite player. I'm still going to watch him play. I'm going to watch him play and hope you guys win 14-12 because you can't pitch because you haven't done anything from a pitching standpoint. Clay Holmes as a starter. Good, brilliant move there. Stop chirping at everything the Yankees have done for trades and make it look like we're in the poorhouse because we don't have Soto when we're going to end up with a better roster than your team at the end of this. And we're going to win our division, and you're not. You're still the 3rd best team in your division. So just when you win another 4 or 5 World Series and you win one against us, maybe we'll start to listen. But until that time, how about we just, how about I have a nice cup of eggnog with a side of shut the fuck up for Christmas and just stop, because we just don't care. We just don't care. I'm more frustrated that I'm talking about how much we don't care, which makes it sound like I care.
Yes, it does.
It does make it sound like I care, but I just don't. It's laughable. It's comical at this point. You're spending all your time trying to aggravate Yankee fans and not enough time screaming at your own team for making one move in the offseason. One. Who's your first baseman? Oh, Vientos. Okay. Who's your third baseman? Beatty. Well, we already tried to trade him 11 times. Who's your ace? Frankie Montas? Have fun with that. Have fun with that. Dylan Peterson, who you wouldn't put in the rotation in the playoffs. That's how much faith you have in him. A guy that you're converting from a closer to a starter. You might as well trade Diaz because you're not going to need him. You're going to win 11-9 or lose 34-2. That's how you're going to be. You're the Browns. That's what you are. You're the Cleveland Browns of Major League Baseball.
Wow.
I know. It's good. Good to cleanse a palate. I'll be nicer to them. My New Year's resolution is to be nicer to Met fans. I'll break that the next time around, probably.
Okay. All right.
They're not.
What's that?
Nice try, though.
All right. Santa Pugs, I got to change hats. This hat just happened to be available. It's my kid's hat, so it doesn't really fit that well.
Yes. You think?
Just a little bit.
Like Barry Bonds in San Francisco at the end of his career.
Yeah, pretty much.
It fit when I lived in Del Mar.
All those damn steroids I've been doing. All right. Here's my wish list: 55 days to spring training pitchers and catchers, 99 to opening day. Have a great winter. Let's get through it safely, calmly. I'll take 46, 48 degrees today and 53 yesterday. But hey, we're getting there. It's almost pitchers and catchers time. My second wish for Christmas is to all Major League Baseball fans again, an early retirement from Commissioner Clown Fred before he just destroys the game that we all love and he doesn't really give a shit about because he's not really a fan. He's just a labor attorney that I don't know. I shouldn't be the commissioner. 3 pitchers. A very interesting story from the aforementioned Jeff Passan on pitchers and the study done on them, and a little education for pitchers that been brought up. They've been trained to every pitch is the most important pitch of your career. Hence, it could be the last pitch of your career, at least for the next year. If you don't uncork everything you have in every single pitch, or not a pitch. Guys like Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine wouldn't even get a sniff now from scouts, and they're in the Hall of Fame. Number 4, Juan Soto, just a bevy of World Series rings during your stay in the Kings of New York in the Metropolitan Baseball franchise. And to Oakland A's fans, I'll always love you. Haven't unfollowed any on Twitter. The inevitable Vegas collapse to happen sooner rather than later, because it's going to happen. They're never going to move there. Big man in Massachusetts trying to piss me off on a daily basis with that. They're not moving there, and they're not going to stay in the cow town either, playing in that pasture of a baseball field. So that's what we want, an early collapse to that deal. And that's it. And then sell the team. Joe Lacob's on the phone, Warrior owner. He'll invest. Howard Terminal can get revitalized. And the A's
maybe you should have wished for a load of sod for Sacramento, so they could have a field that looks like a baseball field and not like where we used to play wiffle ball.
No, they have plenty of cow dung up there. They can treat it with a little manure.
They probably, they do. It's interesting that they found all this change in the couch cushions in Oakland Alameda County Coliseum to pay Severino, make the trade for Shield or for Springs and for the soon to be extended Brent Rooker, also a great follower on.
We talked about that last week. If they don't get to 105 million, they could lose out. They're going to have a grievance by the Players Association. They could lose out on 70 million of revenue. They have to get that threshold up, and they got to find someone desperate enough to take their money now. Severino.
Somebody else is in that. Who did I read? Somebody else is in that same boat right now. And it's not Tampa, believe it or not. It might be the Pirates. It's that the competitive balance pay that they get from Major League Baseball as part of the tax. Like, they don't get it. The A's did not get it this year. That's not helpful.
No, he's just looking for as much free money as he can. So he's got to spend 60, but he gets 70 back.
Well, he better hope that he better hope that stonewashed jean sales at the Gap are up this year.
Yeah. By the way, a shout out to our like on Facebook, to our Ernest Borgnine lookalike friend up in the North Country of New York.
Ernest Borgnine. Exactly. Ernest Borgnine. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So we'll probably take a 2-week break since it's holiday season. We'll come back after the first of the year revitalized. Yeah. Hopefully there'll be some news.
Maybe.
From a baseball standpoint, we'll probably start diving into probably closer to pitchers and catchers. We'll start diving into position ratings, and we'll continue to line up some new and exciting guests to talk about their team and what they see, how they have to live with themselves following a team that's got no shot. Some of these poor souls. some of these poor souls. Shy Sox fan Mike, who's become one of my favorite follows. The poor kid. He's trying to talk himself. He's the most optimistic person I've ever met in a situation that's so bad. He's like the bishop in Caddyshack who says, I don't think the heavy when it makes Bill Murray say, I don't think the heavy stuff's going to come down for quite some time yet.
Yeah.
Like I could break the course record conceivably. Like that's he's looking for any crumb to get over 49.5. I sent him into a little tailspin today when I saw that. He was not thrilled.
That's the way it goes. But before that, now how many you got? I'm in 3 fantasy football playoffs, all semifinals. Favored to win all 3. Let's hope we bring it home.
I lost in my family league last week because my cousin had the best week of his season, and it's an ESPN scoring, and over 200 points is almost unheard of, and he had like 230 points. So I lost in that quarterfinal. I lost in the prelim in the Yahoo League, and that wasn't surprising to me at all because my team just decided to stop playing. But in the TSBF League, I am favored to win, and I will win.
Yeah, butt fumbler football.
Butt fumbler football, catch it. Is that what it said?
Yeah, I got one league up as a 2 seed. I got a bye. I'm a favorite this week, even though I lost David Montgomery and Nick Chubb for the year last week in a bye week. That hurts. Another one, I took my buddy's 13-year-old son out to the woodshed in our quarterfinals, doubled up his score, and just kind of let him know, hey man, it's playoffs. You know, it's game up. It's game up.
Learn to lose early, son.
And then the Yahoo League, the VitalityBall9.com, I'm favored to win my game. But I don't think there's any prize money in that league. So
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's nice to win. Yeah, maybe you get a participation award out of Vitality.
Yeah, it's good for bragging rights.
Sure.
Maybe we'll talk El Jefe into doing a post-championship recap live again, and we can absorb that chaos that was those lunatics. Holy smokes.
That was an interesting draft.
I want them to do it live in the worst way so that the viewers can get a glimpse of what being in a MLB clubhouse is like. It's not for the faint of heart. That's for sure. You'll check your feelings in the car. Don't even check them at the door. Just leave them in the car because anything is fair game. Anything is fair game.
For sure. All right, my man. We're out. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. I hope everybody that watches us has a great holiday season and gets to enjoy it with family and friends. And I hope the boys have another great Christmas. I'm sure it'll be spectacular for them. I'm sure they're fired up.
They are.
As usual. We're in a countdown now.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have an advent calendar?
Oh, yes, we do.
Yeah. So there's that. That facilitates. Oh, here's my bonus Christmas wish list. This is to all parents. That the first order of business that the new clown that's going to be our president signs is that he permanently bans Elf on a Shelf. I want him to permanently ban it.
No. That's fine.
The anxiety that comes with Elf on a Shelf. Oof. Now, I have seen some pretty cool creative stuff to do with Elf on a Shelf, but the anxiety. So I saw your post the other day of waking up in a panic, remembering whether he was moved or not.
Mrs. Pugsley came to the rescue that night.
I can't tell you how many times that happened.
That adrenaline rush was just not what I needed at 5:30 in the morning.
Well, you haven't lived through a scenario where your mom decides that she's going to do some dusting for you when she's at your house for Christmas and moves the Elf on the Shelf during the day, and the terror and tears that ensued from my young children at the time. That was when I was like, Fuck this elf on a shelf, dude. I'm going with a Snoop on a stoop. I think that's what I'm going with. I'm going to go with a
All
Snoop
right.
on a stoop. And then if you move them, you got to do a bong hit. Maybe it's something like, maybe that's how it works. I don't know. Which would be fine.
No, Elfie Ho Ho is a member of the family. Very happy to have him.
We had 2 at one point.
Oh, that's a lot of that's a lot. That's a
Well,
lot.
we had a backup in case we had a backup.
As long as
We
he
bought
gets
a backup because we misplaced. We tried so hard to hide the original elf that we forgot where we put him, so we had to buy another one. So we had 2 at one point, and we ended up cursing another family with our backup elf on the shelf, Charlie the elf. I don't even know how he got that name. I don't even know who named him that. Wyatt, I think, named him Charlie, elf on the shelf. What sadistic bastard came up with that? Like who? What sadistic human being? Like it's bad enough that every year I get the big laugh. I look in my stocking. I got a bag of coal. Ha ha ha. Pick on the fat guy again. It's all fun and games. Kids get a big kick out of it. 2 lumps of coal, one for one of the animals, one for me. Everybody has fun. Because we gave it to one of the kids one year, and that ended up in a terror. That ruined Christmas. That was pretty fun. Honestly, I thought it was hysterical. But
yeah. That's good
know.
when they're not 6, but okay.
Well, yeah, they were like, I think it was like, I think Margaret was like 7.
Yeah.
The coal.
Yeah, 17 maybe.
We decided to draw it out of a hat. And then we just decided finally I'm getting the coal every year. So now.
Good.
So now everything's a system here now. It's a rotation. The war over who puts the top of the tree on. Now there's a chart out to 2038 for who does it. And that person's also responsible for the coal, which has now become great and fun because now they're older and they just fuck with each other all the time, which is, I don't know where they learned that.
Let them do it. You can just sit on the couch with a favorite beverage in your hand.
Yeah, with Bloody Marys, baby. We crank them out. We crank them Bloody Marys out Christmas morning and then taking a nap by lunchtime.
All right. Well, 6 nights, the big man in the red suit comes down the chimney.
Yeah. I mean, as long as the drones don't shoot them down, we'll be all good.
Yeah, we'll be okay. Rudolph will help him out.
Yeah, Rudolph will get shot down because they'll think he's a drone. He may have to temper the red nose this year because some of these nutcases in New Jersey are firing shots now. They've had enough.
Get some clear skies and safe travels for Santa and his horde.
Yeah. Get the NORAD Santa tracker.
Got
Santa
it.
tracker going.
Got it.
Gets it. Get a little eggnog. Drop a splash of Bailey's and bourbon in that sucker, and sprinkle a little nutmeg on top of that, and drink it and tell him Santa drank it because he likes an eggnog. It's all good. It's all good. It's the best time of the year.
Yes, sir. All right, man. So we'll catch you in a couple weeks.
It's a good time to realize what you're thankful for.
For sure. So we'll see you in a couple weeks, and I imagine everything's going to be different in the Hot Stove League by then.
We would hope so.
We hope. Positional rankings coming 2025. It's time to start getting ready for the draft.
Juan Soto won't be the first ranked outfielder. Just saying.
He might be in perpetuity. Now that he's on a winner. All right. I'm going to cut my losses while I can before you swear at me. All right. Be good.
Put that Barry Bonds hat back on.
I could do that. There's a lot of brains. I got a lot of brains in my head.
Yeah, it's nice to see him be used once in a while. That'd be great.
Sure. I like to pace myself. All right. We're out.
See ya.